Hello everyone, so we have a new standard for this video and it relates directly to the prior video. So compare how the various economic systems, traditional, market, command, mixed, answer the three basic questions: what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce it, which you will recall was the video we had previously. Now we only have one LEQ for this video. What are the major types of economic systems, their advantages, disadvantages, and their goals? So for this particular video, we're going to focus on what are the major type of economic systems and their advantages and disadvantages. We'll save their goals for part 2 to this video series. Alright, so before we get into what are the major types of economic systems, a quick review. So what is an economic system? Even though it sounds fancy, it sounds complicated, an economic system is something very simple. It is a way in which a nation uses its scarce resources to satisfy its people's needs and wants. That's it. Now, in class, we're going to work on a survival activity where you have to make we'll say a mini economic system where you are put in a situation in which resources are very scarce and you're going to have to figure out how to fulfill I'm quoting here, citizens, unquote, needs and wants. So you're going to have to answer the three basic questions. What do you need to produce? How do you need to produce it? And for whom do you need to produce it to survive? And this is an activity we're doing in class. So let's go into these economic systems. So the basic economic systems are traditional, command, and market, which we are about to review. There's a fourth economic system called a mixed economy, which is not one of the basic economic systems, which I'll get into here in a few minutes. So let's go into it. All right, let's start with a traditional economy. So remember, how do these economies answer the three basic questions? What, how, and for whom to produce? So traditional economies answer the three basic questions according to tradition, the way they have always been done. So a traditional economy is an economic system in which economic decisions, that is, what, how, and for whom to produce, are based on customs and beliefs and have been handed down from generation to generation. Now, 100, 200, 300 years ago, traditional economies were the most common type of economy, but in the modern industrialized world, these economies are fading out of existence. So when I say traditional economies, I want you to think about like the tribes in Africa, the Aboriginals in Australia, the hidden civilizations in the Amazon rainforest and things like that. So other than a few select tribes and villages, traditional economies are basically becoming a thing of the past. So traditional economies answer three basic questions according to tradition. Okay, now here's a good one. We have the command economy, not to be confused with communism. Communism is a form of government. Command economy / socialism is a form of economic system. That may or may not be a question on a quiz. You guys learned in Ms. Kosher's class that communism is a form of government. And in my class, you're learning that command economy, which can also loosely be called socialism. If this were a college level economics course, you'll find that there is a slight difference between command economy, socialism, and Marxism. But for the purposes of this class, they are essentially the same thing. That is when the government controls the factors of production and the government answers the three basic questions. So it is an economic system in which the government controls all the factors of production and makes all the decisions about their use. So just like traditional economies, command economies are almost, kind of a thing of the past. They are getting outdated. Now, if you see this map here, there are only a few true command economies left in the world, with probably the most powerful and most controversial of all of them being North Korea. As you can see, these other countries on here, countries most of you probably have not heard of. 20, 30, 40 years ago, during the Cold War, it was basically a war between ideologies. The Soviet Union, which consisted of Russia and about 13 other countries, they were all command economies. Meanwhile, America and most of the Western world were market economies, which we are about to review. Now, if you notice up here, Russia and most of the Soviet Union, they are no longer a command economy. Ever since the revolution in the early 1990s, Russia is more of a market economy now. Also, I want to note, China is not a command economy. So here's the deal. China's kind of a weird situation. They have a communist government, but a more market economy. If I were filming this video 15, 20 years ago, I would say yes, or not just I, the world would say yes, China is a command economy. But just like Russia, China has undergone somewhat of an economic renaissance, and they are more market-based and they are command-based. So it's kind of strange because there aren't too many countries in the world like this where you have a communist government yet a market economy. In most situations, think about the Soviet Union, you would have a communist government and a command/socialist economy. So China's kind of a weird situation like that, but I want you guys to know China is not a command economy. Yes, they are a communist government, but they are not a command economy. Russia in modern times is not a command economy. Okay, we now have the market economy. This is the civilized world, the Western industrial civilizations. The market economy answers 3 basic questions the way the people want it. So a market economy is an economic system in which individuals, you and I, business people, entrepreneurs, managers, own the factors of production and make economic decisions through free interaction while looking out for their own and their family's best interest or their company's best interest. So the majority of the world is more of a market-based economy now. That is, the government does not own the factors of production. The government does not make all, and I'm emphasizing all there. Command economy, the key word is all of the economic decisions. So in a market economy, if I want to start a business, I am free to do so without the government telling me I can or cannot do so. Now, before I get too far in a market economy, we've just covered the 3 basic economic systems: traditional, command, and market. What we're going to cover now is a mixed economy. Now, a mixed economy is not a basic economic system, yet it is by far the most common economic system. Because here's the absolute truth, guys. In the real world, here in the 21st century, market economies also don't really exist. We often say America is a market economy or a free enterprise economy, which means the same thing. But in reality, America, China, Russia, Germany, England, Australia, New Zealand, Afghanistan, Brazil, Canada, most of the countries in the world, I hate to put a number on it, but I'd say about 80% of the countries in the world are in fact a mixed economy in which there are certain elements of command-based principles, that is the government owning the factors of production and making the basic decisions, and there is a certain element of market-based decision. A mixed economy is a combination of command and market-based systems. So, example, in the USA, most decisions are made by individuals. However, federal, state, and local governments do in fact have regulations. In a pure market economy, minimum wage would not exist. In a pure market economy, I would be able to sell whatever I wanted to, regardless if it were unhealthy or could potentially be fatal to consumers in a pure market economy. But since the government does in fact regulate, aka control the factors of production, answers the 3 basic questions, because the government does regulate somewhat, we do have a mixed economy. Now, like I said, this is part 1 of a 2-part video series. We're going to go in much more detail in part 2 of this video, as well as our activities in class. So our LEQ in review. What are the major types of economic systems, their advantages and disadvantages, and their goals? So I'm not going to go through this graph box by box, but I'll let you guys take a moment and peruse it at your leisure. I suggest taking notes on this graph. Alright guys, thank you for watching the video. I'll see you all in class.